Morning, Tuesday. Today we are going to learn the symptoms of CMOS battery failures. So the first one is CMOS reading error or CMOS checksum error while booting. So this example picture of a computer with CMOS checksum error. So this makes it harder for the computer to validate information in the CMOS storage such as date, time and hardware setting. Because the CMOS is literally operating, the computer won't be able to verify the values, resulting in error when the device is booted. So this means that a CMOS checksum error happened because if the CMOS battery fails, it means that the CMOS memory will also fail. And if the CMOS memory fails, it means that it will not be able, because one of the functions of CMOS memory is to keep the track of date and time and to keep the hardware setting and bias information. So if the CMOS memory failed due to CMOS bit failed, it means that the computer will get a harder time to validate the information in the CMOS storage, because the CMOS storage will no longer keep the date and time and hardware setting information. Incorrect date and time is constant date and time resetting. So an erroneous date and time setting is one of the most typical symptoms that your CMOS battery is about to die. One of the tasks of CMOS, as indicated before, is to keep track of date and time. When the battery dies, the computer is unable to save correct date and time, and this information is reset every time the computer shuts down. Even if you set the correct date and time in the BIOS, it will revert the default date and time. When you notice that your computer's date and time are off, it's likely that a CMOS battery is nearing the end of its life. It's a good idea to change your CMOS battery. So this means that incorrect date and time is constant date and time resetting. This problem happened because if the CMOS battery is fault or is failed, it means that the CMOS memory or CMOS storage will fail also. So if the CMOS memory fails, it means that will no longer keep the track of date and time. So if the CMOS memory fails to keep the track of date and time, or to keep the track of correct date and time, it means that your computer will have incorrect date and time, even if you set in the BIOS, even if you set in the window date and time every time, your computer will still have incorrect date and time because of the failure of the CMOS memory due to failure of the CMOS battery. The third one, you can't connect to the internet. This means that if the CMOS battery fails, it means that the CMOS memory will no longer keep the information about the hardware drivers and the BIOS information. So if the CMOS memory or the CMOS bit failed, it means that the CMOS memory will not be able to keep the track of correct date and time, and also to keep the hardware drivers information. So if the CMOS memory failed to keep the track about hardware, if the CMOS memory failed to keep the information about hardware drivers, it means that some of the drivers of your computer will fail. For example, network key drivers. So if network key drivers fail, your computer can't connect to the internet. Another one, computer shutdown and booting failure on a periodic basis. If your computer goes down for no apparent reason and then refuses to start or has a trouble booting up, it could be a problem with CMOS battery. This is because a hardware driver could fail to function while the computer is running, leading the machine to crash. A dead CMOS battery might also cause booting issue, preventing the computer from beginning since some of its drivers aren't functioning. The computer will have trouble starting up if a hardware driver involved in the booting process fails. So computer shutdown and boot failure on periodic basis happen because if the CMOS battery dies, it means that CMOS storage or CMOS memory will fail to keep the hardware driver's information and lead the driver to fail. So if the driver fails, it means that the computer will shut down. Will shut down because the hardware will not working because of the drivers. Also, booting failure. If your CMOS battery is failed, will cause the CMOS memory or CMOS storage fail to keep the track or information about hardware drivers. So if the hardware drivers involved in booting fails, it means that your computer is not booting. The last one and not the least unusual hardware issue and non-working drivers. The CMOS of a computer. The CMOS of a computer is in charge of saving the computer BIOS, setting and keep track of the unit hardware drivers. When the CMOS fails, the computer loses the ability to detect some of its hardware due to malfunctioning drivers. This could cause strange, difficult or hardware failures to appear out of nowhere. Example, touchpad will not respond properly. So, if the CMOS battery fails, means the CMOS memory will also fail, and failure of CMOS memory will cause failure of hardware drivers. So, if the hardware drivers fail, means some of the hardware is not working properly. For example, if the touchpad driver fails, it means that the touchpad will not respond properly. So, thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel.